When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alan Masters, my brother David Masters. This
Hello.
is the Foundation of Human Understanding Sunday Conversation with my brother. You know, I was thinking this morning while showering, which seems to be my most thoughtful place. Once upon a time, I was thinking, who am I? Who am I to get up there? Who am I? I mean, my father's Roy Masters. He is such the sage. He knows everything. He's always got an answer. He's also a lot older than me. He's 32 years older than me. And each time I think about that throughout my life, it's usually in the decades from the time I was about 20. About every 10 years I go, I will never be as smart as he is, because he's always 32 years further down the path of life than I am. And I was thinking this, and I said, I haven't even been baptized, and I've told this story before. And all of a sudden, in the shower, standing next to me, in essence, was the Spirit of Jesus. And he says, I'll baptize you right now. Put your head back into the water. I put my head back into the water, and man, I felt free. And then I opened my eyes, and he was gone. The Spirit was even gone. It was, in other words, it was almost like he was there with me. And it was a really out of body, in body, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, experience. And I felt like nobody's going to believe that. Nobody's going to believe that. That doesn't happen. And then I thought, there's that little doubt monster already kicking in. And I thought, no, I know what I experienced. So this morning, I put my head back in the same flow of water to wash my hair. And I said, are you there? And what I heard was, always. And it was the same kind of experience. My eyes were closed, and I didn't see anything with my eyes, not even in the pictures of my mind, but I felt a presence. So I got up real early this morning because a friend of mine was on the news, and he texted me, hey, thanks for helping me get on the news again. I'm going to be on at 5:45 if you want to watch. And he was on his way into the news station, and he was talking about this impeachment and how Hollywood deals with it, because oddly enough, I have a lot of interesting friends in Hollywood, mostly conservative, obviously. And so I responded with a thumbs up, and I got up, made myself a cup of coffee, kind of said, all right, I think I'm going to watch, and I'm going to look in the Bible, because who am I to get up there and talk about all this stuff and not be looking for answers or looking for answers? Because aren't we all looking for answers? Forgive me for this. I'll be
No, it's actually
to a
ties in
conversation.
perfectly.
Okay. And so it was so interesting. I grabbed one Bible, and the print was too small, and then I grabbed another Bible, and it was the Jerusalem Bible, and I thought, well, didn't I have a Bible in here that I got for my dad with big font? And I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it, and I found another book that looked interesting, and then I saw another book. My wife reads a lot. I don't read. I live. I wanted to find answers to bring to you guys. Answers. But nobody asks questions, and we don't allow questions right now because we're trying to find our way together in this new role that we've been cast into a little bit. And I thought about it. I was sitting there, and I read something that was very sweet and very interesting, and I thought, that's sweet and interesting. That's an answer. And I thought, but who's asking the questions? And then I thought, if I was to give you all the answers to every question you could ever ask in your entire life, you couldn't remember them all. How could you possibly remember all the answers? And how do you know if this answer matches up with that question, and this answer matches up with that question, but it also answers this question and that question? So you have to just live, and you have to be listening. So when I pray, and I pray right now that God gives me the strength and the understanding to say something worthwhile, when you pray, you're asking, you're speaking to God. When you meditate, you're listening. So I closed the book for a minute, and I closed my eyes, and I sat there, and I realized that you can't have all the answers, because it would take so much time to find the answer, even if you had a question. Because I thought we should answer questions, which we will on the radio show, which will be starting soon, David and I together. But you have to ask the questions as they're happening in your life. So you have to live your life every day, and you have to pray and ask the questions, meditate and listen for the answers. And every day, God will give you the information that you need. Like manna from heaven, God will feed you with those answers. And it's so funny because I was thinking back to when I was in the shower, thinking, who am I? I don't have all those answers. And I realized my dad didn't have all those answers either. They come as they need. As the need arises, the answer comes. And so I thanked my friend Jesus, whose birthday is coming, a little over 2,000 years old. Happy birthday, friend.
Rebirth day.
Right? And so I just want you to know that this life for me has always been just a journey that I seek the answers to the questions as they happen. I seek to know the truth, which then reveals the answer. The truth will set you free. And as I seek that truth, he'll reveal the answer to me and to you. So I was looking through these books, and I love the stories. I love the stories. And they answer a lot of old questions that I think I kind of already knew. And they answer them again and again and again and again. And then at some point, I think something called maturity sets in, and you realize, wow, have I been a fool all my life? Because those answers were right in front of me. They were right on me. Jesus was walking right next to me. He was with me in the shower, naked. I was naked. He was wearing a flowing robe. Today you're going to honor your Father in heaven by understanding that he's with you every day, all day, in the shower, in the bathroom, when you're sinning, not judging you. Don't judge yourself. And I realized that, I was gonna put a prop. I was gonna put another microphone right here and say, "What'd you say?" Yeah, Jesus is right here with us. We need to put another chair right here. But he's not with us in the flesh, he's with us in spirit. And so I thought, no, I don't want to do a prop. I don't want to be a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Jesus talker. I want to be a man who lives it. And so as I'm learning how to better understand my journey, then I want to talk about it for you guys, with my brother, and with you folks. And with that said, David and I are going to start in January doing Advice Line. Took us a little while to get used to just the dynamic of not working together for, really since we were kids. And we weren't working together then. We were kids. And now we're full-grown men. And we have to be able to, like I did with my sister, disagree on things in a mature way and talk about them right in front of you guys, right in front of the world. And be able to have conversations that we wish our founding, not our founding fathers, because I'm sure they didn't either, but they probably had a better relationship than our government today. But I think that we wish our government had today, that they could talk across the aisle and have conversations. And there's just so much foul. I posted a tiny thing on Facebook the other day, tiny, tiny little thing. And the ugliness that ensued, I deleted the post after a couple days. Because even though I said at the beginning, I don't post very often about anything political, because it's so ugly and so foul, that I said this one little thing that was really more like just a little bit of something to think about. And the first couple were kind of okay. And then as it went down, they started arguing with each other. It got uglier and uglier and uglier. And so finally I went ahead and just deleted it. I thought, it's not worth it. You either have to stand up and fight and join in on the insanity and be a warrior, like I think what you see in Trump. He's Teflon man. You can say or do whatever you want to him, and you impeach him, he says, that felt good. May I have another? And I think that's what we conservatives like about him. He is a bit of a warrior. And so, I was thinking, the truth is, and then as I said that, the truth is, I thought, well, none of us are really ready for the truth. We just can't handle the truth. We can't handle all of the truth about our lives, about life, what's coming, what's behind us. We just have to live in the moment, and he'll answer your questions if you are open. If you're not open, something will distract you. Something on television, a car whizzing by, a dress you like, a motorcycle, whatever it might be, something will distract you, and you'll have forgotten even what the question was. What do you got, David?
Just thinking about what you were saying. It's very good. Well, we're coming up on that most important time of our year. And so I wanted to talk about resurrection. But what I found was more interesting than I thought. So let me just start with Daniel 12:2. It says, many of those who sleep in the dust of the ground will awake, these to everlasting life, but others to disgrace and everlasting contempt. Ooh. So you think about that one verse right there, and it says a lot. So we look at this crazy world that we live in, and we see that people are sort of like, who cares, whatever. Do whatever makes you feel good.
Well, there's two sides of it. There's that side, and then there's the intellectual side, which is, I have a friend that posted something, and he used all kinds of big, giant words. I actually had to look them up, and I thought, why couldn't he have just spoken simple English? And it's so funny because that intellect is one of those distractions. People that love to be in their intellect with where all the answers are, the answers that they have conjured up based upon intellect and fact and figure and all those types of things. And that is actually a trap for fools set by the devil. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil is the one thing that God said, don't eat from that tree. So to your point, there's two sides to it. I just can't take it. I don't care. Do what the hell you want. Or the ones that have all the answers.
So I'll add to that there is, I think there exists in every human being two capabilities, only two. One to believe and one to disbelieve. Okay, so going back to the origin, the Adam and Eve story, they were warned, don't eat the fruit of that tree. And they knew, at some level, fundamentally, they knew that they shouldn't do that. But the idea that they were vulnerable was known to the deceiver, to the enemy, to get them to doubt what they were told. And so if we come fast forward now to our modern day, we know, in a sense, we know what we should and should not do. But yet our greatest in filling is not with the spirit of that knowing, but with the doubt. And this is why the world is in the condition that it's in, because we all know. Everybody already knows. Should you take something that doesn't belong to you? No. But another person would say, well, that other person apparently didn't need it as much as I do. I mean, it's...
Yeah. The excuse mechanism.
Yeah, there's a selfishness involved with this. But so as I'm reading this, it gets more interesting. It says, this is Acts 17:31. Because he has fixed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness through a man whom he has appointed, having furnished proof of all men, to all men, by raising him from the dead. Now, this is where it gets, to me, really interesting, because the Christian religion is a cosmic thing, because we have a resurrected a figurehead. I'm trying to find the right word. A resurrected leader. We have an undead leader. It's really interesting if you think about it. He died. Now, we see it happening because Alan was talking about near-death experiences not long ago.
Right.
So in this day and age, we look at near-death experiences and go, oh, yeah, there are near-death experiences and people come back from the dead.
So to that, yesterday a friend of mine called me and he was in the car with his two daughters. Mm-hmm. And he said, I was trying to explain to my daughters about what you went through. They were 9 and 11. And he says, can you do me a favor and tell my daughters what you went through?
Are you sure that wasn't Russia-Trump collusion?
No. And I thought to myself, he wants me to tell his daughters what I went through. And I know what he was talking about. He says, when you're standing in front of that machine and you were looking at your body. And I thought, adults, we understand this stuff. But see, in that moment, I realized the way that Jesus spoke to us was very, very simple. It was very, very simple. It wasn't lofty. It was very simple to understand. And so I realized that I didn't want my intellect to get in the way of trying to explain this, what David called cosmic experience, because out-of-body experience could be called a cosmic experience, I guess. So I said, yeah, so you guys are in the car, right? And they said, yes. They were in the back seat. It was on speakerphone inside the car, brand new car. And I said, okay, well, you know how your dad's driving right now? And if he turns the wheel left, the car goes to the left. And if he goes to the right, the car goes to the right. Your dad is in control of the car. I said, well, your soul is in control of the body. And I said, my body needed to have repairs, and my soul stepped out for a moment and could see the body going in for repairs. I said, and it doesn't happen very often, but I was so conscious of the fact that my soul, the real Alan, was outside of my car, my body, that I actually talked about it, because you realize that there's a battle between good and evil in this world, and it wants your soul. The body's going to die and go into the ground, and another person will be born and take your place, but the soul lives on forever. I said, does that make sense to you girls? And they said, yes. Now, I don't know whether it did or not, but it didn't matter. And in that moment, as I was realizing what I had just tried to articulate to two little girls, I realized just how true it is. That the reason why you hear you can live forever, it isn't this that lives forever. It's the soul. It's the spirit that goes back to the Father in heaven or some other place. That's up to you. Sorry. I just had to interject that because that was kind of what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's not an easy topic.
It's not.
It requires a higher sense of reality that isn't common.
What I didn't say is there's also a wild monkey in the car that tries to take over the wheel every now and then and usually does. Anyway.
Metaphorically speaking.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think which one I should read here.
It's just so interesting while you're looking at it. For some reason, I've had interactions with small children lately, more and more and more. And I just appreciate the innocence in small children so much, because when you interact with people all day long, grown adult people, because children are people too, you're having to constantly navigate what you think may be an obstacle with that person, an angry person, judgmental person, super intellectual person. What do I have to deliver to that particular person to be able to get my point across, make a business deal? So it's interesting how we're having to prejudge constantly, like a computer scanning. And with children, you just don't have to do any of that. And actually, as an adult, you really don't have to do any of that either. But we think we do. We think we have to intellectually analyze the person we're dealing with, when if you just step back, if you're being honest, doing a great job at whatever it is, the truth, you can turn that piece of paper to that person and say, here's what I'm doing. This is how I want to do it. If you do your homework, even in a deal, no matter what that person is, angry, intellectual, whatever, they'll look at that and go, okay, that's great. But what happens is I've heard so many times when we're putting together a proposal, well, this guy is this way and that guy is that way, and then there's the boss, we have to deal with that. We're really navigating through all of the insanity, the cultural insanity, the spiritual or lack thereof insanity. You're navigating so many things. And what I've learned is that if I can stop doing all that navigating, then he will help navigate my life to where I really should be. Because yes, I can navigate all the way to the top, which I've done. I navigated all the way to the top. Do you know at the top, there's more corruption at the top of organizations? And I got to the point where I thought, I know how to talk to these guys, because most of them are cowards anyway. And guys and gals, I don't want to just say guys. But most of them are cowards. So what happens is when I walk into a room, I'm not afraid of losing that whole deal. I'm already one up because I just want to make a deal. I'm here with my business to make a deal with you. And what happens is they start putting these trips on me, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Here's the deal. This is what we need to do. We need to keep it to this and not deal with all that other stuff. But I got to tell you, it's just having courage to know that if it's not supposed to happen, it ain't supposed to happen. So I've always been, if this deal isn't supposed to happen, c'est la vie. I'll go away and I'll find the right deal. But what happens, we're so willful in our lives. We are so willful that we want to will this deal to happen, when the one that's supposed to happen is right here getting ignored. So when we live in this will, we're not living in his will. We're living in our own will, which puts us to places we aren't supposed to be and make deals we shouldn't make, compromise our principles to make the deal. And yeah, you get the deal, but is the screwing you get worth the screwing you got, or whatever that saying is, if you know what I'm saying?
It's
When you wake
the
up the next
screwing you're
morning.
going to get.
Whatever. It isn't. It never is. It never is. And then there's the other side of that. You let me know when you're ready.
Anytime.
Which is when I've made deals that were big deals, that were bad deals, soon as I knew it, as soon as I knew that I had manipulated a deal to happen, I could start to smell it. It's like something burning in the oven. And no matter how good that casserole looked, when you burn it, it's no good. And I burned the casserole by putting my will, my ego, my pride, my greed, whatever it is. I ruined the casserole. So I throw the whole thing out. I sometimes will try and fix it. I'll say, listen, I made a bad deal with you guys. We need to fix this. People actually like that. They like the honesty. So really, if we can just, even if you make mistakes, just return to honesty. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Really? Did you just say you're sorry? Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. You've made a friend. Believe it or not, you've made a friend because they see that you are willing to be honest. Most people aren't even willing to be honest. Just the willingness to try to be honest can make a friend for life, because then you can have a higher discussion instead of just this, that, and the other thing that you're trying to do. It's like, let's talk at a higher level as two men or two women or a man and a woman, whatever it may be. Now you made a friend for life because they can always say, hey, knock, knock. Are you there or is your business head on? No, don't talk to me right now. I'm whatever. Let me call you back when I'm not in the middle. Because sometimes, you're in business and you got all the pressure. The reality is you should drop whatever you're doing to talk at a higher level at all times. Sorry, David. I'm just going through my life. It's my life. Crack open that egg. Here's what you got. There's the yolk right there.
So the idea that keeps circulating in my mind is that we can't really comprehend. Like you said, people aren't ready for the truth. But it's because we can't really comprehend it. We can't see it clearly. And for those people who are struggling, and everybody is, and you're going through something really difficult, and sometimes for years and decades, and maybe your whole lifetime, going through this horrible, difficult, challenging existence, you must realize one thing, and that is that there is another beginning. Okay, with every end, there's a new beginning. And these promises that have been made through the men that we know through the Bible, through reading the Bible, and I don't read a lot either, but when I do read, but I'm looking for something. Just like when I was looking this morning, what do I want to use today to express this incredible idea of eternal life? So there it is. You type it in, and the internet produces it for you. And you look at it, and you know that it's true, but you still can't comprehend the depth of it. So let me read from Revelation 12 and 13. Revelation 20, 12, 13. And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged from the things which were written in the books. Think about it. This is your life now, the story of your life, written in your book, according to their deeds. Think about what I'm saying now. You think that you don't realize everything you do changes your destiny. Every thought that you think, every fear, whatever the anxiety, whatever the excitement, everything that you experience in your life changes your destiny every single time.
Right, and a lot of us judge ourselves for our past, for everything we've done. We think, well, that's that. I'm screwed. I've been a real jerk. I've been a liar, a cheater, a thief, and everything else, and yada, 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 whatever you can throw into that, because you have to go through that sometimes. You have to reach the bottom of the pit, and we dig hard to get to the bottom of the pit. We're digging our own holes. We're digging our own graves. But when you reach the bottom of that pit, if you say what the devil wants you to say, which is, there's no way back, then you keep being that way. There is no way back. But if you realize through yielding to the higher power that you are forgiven as soon as you wake up and realize you have been wrong, and you say, I'm sorry for being wrong. You say those words of prayer, speaking to God. I'm sorry for being such a fool, so wrong for so many years. And then you meditate and listen, and you start living a different life. Then you are forgiven. But if you continue to do the wrong, then you curse yourself. We curse ourselves daily.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have, like, right next to the bed, a stack of hurdles. And every day we wake up and we lift a hurdle and we stick it out in front of us. So as soon as we get out of bed, we try and have to jump over a hurdle, a thought, a sinful thought. angry thought, whatever it is. And we keep putting hurdles in front of us because we're constantly thinking in that lower nature, and that doubtful, angry, contemptuous lower nature. I didn't get this. I didn't have a good parent. I didn't this, that, or the other. I whatever it might be that we're angry about. Fill in the blank. But I've noticed through interviewing successful people in life that are entrepreneurs, because I work with Entrepreneur Magazine. I get this amazing opportunity to interview entrepreneurs that are successful. And I interviewed this lady the other day, and I was blown away, and I'll tell you why. I looked her up on the internet, and she was this beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed, young, 30-something mother of two, just very, very, she had this glow about her, just very pretty. And I thought, okay, I'll interview her. I look and I read a few little things, and she had kind of a good thing going on. But the story that came out of her was amazing. And I thought, every one of us have that story. Every one of us have that story of she was sexually abused. She had a drug problem. She was in and out of jail for years. And I went, what? Miss Goody Two-Shoes, beautiful mother of two, that you look like she was like the valedictorian of her class if you judged only on looks. But she wasn't carrying the bitterness that uglies our face. She wasn't carrying it because she learned from this horrible experience of her life. She saw that that's horrible, that's hell, and I can either stay in that world or I can be of a different world. Just like Jesus was born into this world, but now he's of a different world. On the world, but not of the world. And I interviewed her, and she has this beautiful outlook on life. It's a choice from the time you wake up. You are already better off than the dead when you open your eyes. Because I know people that didn't open their eyes, that were young. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, one of my dear friends who you guys will meet, who's a Mormon guy, lives in Salt Lake City, he posted something. He says one of his best friends died, 52 years old, misdiagnosed by doctors, so on and so forth, stomach cancer. And, I had a gallbladder problem. They didn't see that it was my gallbladder, so I continued on, and it had to get worse and worse and worse. And then I had to have an emergency situation that could have killed me if I was in the wrong place. I was in China a couple months ago. I could have been in China when that happened. Language barrier, could have died. What happened to Alan? He died in China. What happened to Alan? He died in the south of France, because I travel all over. But the thing is, I was talking about that girl. You find people that have these horrible things that have happened in their lives. Haven't all of you and us had horrible things, including Roy Masters' kids? Horrible things that we brought upon ourselves mostly. But even the most gifted of people, my father, had horrible things in his life. And I look at these people that have all these horrible things and I go, there it is. Remember, a kite rises against the wind. The winds of adversity. Rises the kite, not with the wind, against the wind. And the winds of adversity will come upon you in your life, and either you rise to the occasion and you pray, God, I have this problem. He already knows it. And then you listen. And that's the problem. We don't listen. We pray and then we move on with our lives. I prayed about it. You can even say it with anger. I've been praying and praying and praying. He's not giving me a damn thing. Sound like Andy from... Andy? What was that? Mayberry. It's just the way you live your life, the way you start your morning. I woke up this morning and I just felt like, man, it's Sunday. Here I am again, Sunday. Every Sunday. It keeps coming so fast. And I thought, and I haven't done any studying. And I was telling you about how that whole thing, so I studied a little bit and looked. I'm not a studier. I can't study. I'm a study of life. But I see all these beautiful things written that make me feel better. They actually make me feel better. And is there a problem in that? And I thought, why do I feel better? I'm not better. I got to live that now. I sat up here and said, don't be triggered. Don't trigger people. Don't do this, don't do that. And then, boom, the same day, failed. You're all going to fail. But you better learn from it. We're all going to fail at things we want to do. And I used to hear my dad say, you're all going to fail. You're all. And I used to go, Dad, don't be so negative. No, we've got to fail constantly. When you go skiing, every time you fall down, you failed at skiing. But you get back up and you go, wow, that was fun. Are you bleeding? No, I don't think so. Yeah, you are. You got blood running out your pant leg. Oh, I guess I skinned my knee. It's okay. Let's go. When we're having fun and when we're enjoying life, failing is okay. When it's in a situation where you're fishing. I caught a huge salmon when I was in Alaska. It was so huge, and everybody on the boat was like watching. And I'd reel it in, and back and forth it went for half an hour. Right as it got to the boat, I pulled too hard, and it got off. I failed. The guy says to me, the fishing guide, told you not to pull so hard. We all fail constantly. But you got to learn from it. You know, the next salmon, I didn't pull so hard, and I got him. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It's just so funny how we're afraid of failure. Failure is our friend. It's how we react to that failure. We're all going to fail. We're all going to fail today at something. Our families are in town, probably. We may even have to call them, even though we don't want to. Merry Christmas. Yeah, same to you. See you next year. You know? Isn't that sad? It really is.
You can't pick your family.
He says you can't pick your family. But God picked them, so you better honor that.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's a big one, isn't it?
I'm just saying.
God picked them, so you better honor that. It's funny because David and I didn't have anything to do with each other for years. He lives in Medford. I live in Grants Pass. That's for those who don't live around here 35, 40 miles away. We didn't see each other very often. Family things, and it was, hey, what's going on? Not much. You know, we lived our lives. But what I'm looking at now is, what is love? Love is one soul yearning to love another soul. It's not like. Like is objects, like is circumstances, things. I like things. I don't love things. My soul loves my brother's soul. Or does it? Or am I angry? Am I holding a judgment? Am I carrying a backpack that has David's name on it, and one that has Diane's name on it, and one that has Mark's name on it, and Michael's name on it, and my dad's name on it? How many backpacks of judgment and memory of stupid things that I didn't like am I carrying through life with me that I have to carry as the weight on my shoulder? But if I yield that to God and say, I don't want to hate anymore. I don't want to judge anymore. Please take this from me. And I'm willing to love, so I had to be willing to love my brother. And even my other brother that I haven't liked for quite a long time, Mark. And I realize I need to love him. He needs to be loved in spite of whatever it is he's done to me or to others or anything else. Because guess what? I've done stupid things too. Don't I want to be loved by you? Yes. But what I have to do is love first. We all have to be willing to love first. And drop off the bags at the door. Let the trash man take the bags away. And I realize that we are such judgers of ourselves, of our family. So what is love? Love is unconditional. Love is forever. Love is a power that is greater than any power on this earth, because God is love. And God is where you are able to connect with that love, because it's his love through you. And then you are yielding to him and not being subject to the devil's hate. If God is love, hate is the devil. I want to be on the side of love. So I'm learning how to have compassion and understanding and forgiveness. So many things that I know the words, but I really didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to use them properly, because word is a meaning tool. And so I thought, I can say the words, but I can't apply it into my life. And that's what we all need to do, is take these words that we've all learned and apply them. I have the biggest toolbox you have ever seen. I don't use my toolbox anymore. I don't use my tools. I used to think I needed all those tools to fix all the problems in my life, in my cars and my things and my things and my things and my things, because all I had was things, and half of them were broken, just like my relationships. And realize now, all the tools, all the words are tools. If I don't use those words and apply them with wisdom, then it doesn't do any good to have all that intellect, because you never really apply it into your life. So now I still have my wonderful tools, just like a whole bunch of wonderful words that I can use and articulate things. But if you guys and me and David, if we aren't applying these brilliant words that God has given us to communicate to each other, if we are not applying them, then we're like a mechanic that doesn't even know how to use his own tools. So I was that mechanic that had all the tools, didn't know how to use most of them, didn't matter. I always thought I can learn how to use them when the time comes. But now what I realize is that I don't know how to deal with anything, and I don't want to, because in the moment, God will show me what to do. Then it's not of me, it's of him. And I want to be a conduit of his decision on how to deal with something, not my own intellect, not my own tools, not my own toolbox. I get out of his way, get out of my way, get out of his way, get out of his way, and allow him to work through me. Because if I'm standing in his way saying, this is how you should do this and this is how you should do that, then I'm going to have to be standing there in front of you all the time showing you how to do things. Really, we all have to get out of each other's way, get out of his way, and just learn how to be living in the moment. And you see it happen. I went over to the body shop the other day, and I saw my old friend Tim, and I had a little problem in my car, and I asked him if he could help me, and I was willing to pay. But what happened was that his heart opened up, and he fixed the car, and I said, do I owe you anything? And he says, no. It was such a nice exchange, Tim. I wanted to just say thank you. It was just a beautiful thing. It was a gift. It didn't take much to do. Your time and your love is worth more than anything in the world.
I was going to finish reading Revelations 20, 12, and 13. Here's the interesting part to me. And I want to say, nobody gets away with anything. Nobody. Everyone is accounted, and everyone accounts for whatever it is that they have or haven't done. So the second part of the Revelation says, and the sea gave up their dead which were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every one of them according to their deeds. And, to what Alan is saying, you're going to have to face life every single day. Life does not go away until you go away.
It seems that teachers are such nice people, or have a chance to be such nice people, because they're around children all the time. And unfortunately, they can either be better or bitter. So you see a teacher that's bitter, you see it right away. Right away. She wears it like a Halloween costume almost. You can just see it on her. And then you see the sweet teachers that love the children and love the innocents and want to help that young spirit to flourish. That's the kind of school that I want to have. I didn't get to go to that kind of school, but my father started a school, Brighton Academy, and wasn't able to actually continue on with it for a while. And so the school has been running on its own. And so I knocked on the door the other day and I said, hey, seems like you might need some help. Because now I have grandchildren and I'm thinking, man, my job keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And I think, like Moses when he went up to see the burning bush, who am I, Lord? Who am I? How can I go and free those people? And I think to myself, Moses was just a sheep herder, right?
And by the way,
I mean, before he was a king.
you know,
but he
all
was
the people that doubted his mission he had to stay in the desert so that they would all die before he could go to the promised land.
Right, which is very interesting. And I said that the other day,
Yeah.
actually. I thought, you know, there's a lot of suffering. And I think, well, when I was 20, you know, maybe I decided I'm going to go off on my own and live my own life. And here I am going to be 60. That's the 40 years of suffering. Maybe the old me is dead. But I realized that Moses was a sheep herder. And that was the life that he had chosen, because he could have done so many things. And then when God said to him, you know, I'll do it. You just go and show up. And that's the way we have to be, is to constantly be asking, all right, Lord, how do I do this? I'm going to move ahead, and I'm going to move ahead in faith, and you're going to be there, and I know it. And that's faith, is like moving ahead. I don't know how I'm going to do and run the things with the school or with the foundation or with the radio show with David or with all of the things, but I keep going each day, and God each day puts another seed in my heart that grows, and I realize I should do this, we should do that. So we need your help, and I just want to take this time to thank all the people that have donated throughout the years and this year as we're at the end of the year. Thank you. Thank you so much, because you have carried this foundation for so long, because this is a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit organization, and without your support, it would cease to exist. And I've got boxes of these mugs that have some little sayings on them, and we're going to start to have a store, and we'll start sending some out to some of the people that have been extraordinarily helpful over the last year or so. But thank you so much. In this time of year, we are conscious of it in more ways than you could know, because many of you out there have donated some decent-sized sums that I think to myself, wow, that's a commitment. That is a commitment. It's a silent thing that nobody knows about, and you send $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever it might be, $100. It makes a difference, and that's what my job is right now, to make sure that your donations make a difference, help others in this world on this journey to finding our Father in heaven inside of us. It's not that hard. We make it hard. So maybe I'm going to try to simplify things a little bit, because I feel like that when I look at the parables and when I looked at Jesus talking and I looked into some of these things he said, I thought, man, this is so simple. Why did it take me so long? Don't you all feel like, why am I 60, 70, 80 years old? Why? And I even saw Jordan Peterson, if you know who Jordan Peterson is. If you don't, you should look him up. He's got a talk about, if I only knew all of what I know now when I was young. Isn't that youth? What did they say? Youth is wasted on the young, right? And it's not, because we need to fail and fail and fail and fail until such times as we go, what is going on? And we realize that we have tried to answer all the questions for ourselves instead of asking our Father in heaven. Sorry, I just keep taking over the show here.
Let it come out.
I have been.
John 5:28 and 29 says, "Do not marvel at this, for an hour is coming in which all who are in tombs will hear his voice and will come forth. Those who did the good deeds to a resurrection of life. Those who committed the evil deeds to a resurrection of judgment. This is what Christianity, this is the core of it right there. The core of Christianity. You believe or you don't. And you may even say, oh, I believe. I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus. But maybe you don't.
But that's what that failing is about. You fail, you fail, you fail, until one day you go, wow, I'm tired of failing. Tired, sick and tired. But I was going to say, and I started to earlier, about the successful people in business tend to be successful in their life as well, that I've been talking to. Not all successful people, because behind them is the dead bodies of the people that they stepped on to get to where they are, but that's not long-lived. But these successful people that I've been dealing with that are entrepreneurs, all, it seems, have had rough lives. Rough lives. And I don't know if you know the stories of some of the biggies, like John Paul DeJoria, who is Paul Mitchell's salon. He also owns Patron Tequila. And I had a conversation with him. He's a billionaire, but he's started 2 billion-dollar companies, Paul Mitchell Salon and the tequila company. And, you know, he was living in his car. He was living in his car and had nothing. And you hear that all the time about some of these incredibly successful people. Tony Robbins is the same way. He had nothing. Over and over and over and over, some of these folks that have made it through life, and then when they finally get there and they have sometimes billions of dollars, they want to talk about it because there's always hope. And you know what's interesting? I'll just say this. Every so often in my life, I felt like there's just no hope. And I mean, you guys probably think, Alan Masters, there's no hope? I felt like there was no hope. And death came. Death came to my room. Death came to my bedside. Death was close to me. And I thought, I got nothing to live for. What do I have to live for? I just want to die. Haven't you felt that way? I just want to die. Death was standing at your bed or in the couch sitting next to you, or it's, you know, the old story of the Grim Reaper. Don't think that ain't true. And if you believe in death, then you gotta believe in Jesus, because he is also standing at your bed. But you are pulled for some reason towards death. It's the easy way out. We've done so many things wrong. We've doubted this guy so many times. We've not listened to our Father in heaven, our voice from above. We've told it to shut up. And you think, there's no hope for me. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. I felt it. And now it's interesting because I felt it in the last 6 months of my life. And I remember thinking, what was that? What thought was that? It's like, where did that come from? So, just as death can be at your door, your Father in heaven, the Lord, is always at your door. And you need to remember that. It's like David said, Jesus loves me, this I know. Yeah. It's that little song.
That's the Howard Storm story.
And it's really, you just have to recognize that the liar lies. And the liar is at your bedside waiting to take your soul. Just as we see the ugly liars in our government today, we can all see it. Is there anybody watching this that can't see the ugly, ugly wicked nature that is in all these liars?
I'll answer that by saying, there are none so blind as those who will not see.
Yeah.
They don't want to see anything. They don't want to see the truth.
Well, it's the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that are awake, and there are people that are asleep. And the ones that are asleep are like puppets being walked around by the dark side. Anyway, wow. Where did that all come from? What else you got?
Just one more,
One
since
more.
we're short on time. 1 Corinthians 15:52. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we shall be changed. So the story here is this: hang on. Hang on. Don't ever let that feeling of hopelessness, don't give it too much rope. It will hang you. Don't doubt that you are known to God and His Son and all the angels. Don't doubt that. It's real.
And don't forget that every day you will fail at something. You will fail at it. If you get angry at yourself or angry at the world, you're destined to repeat it. If you look at it and go, there it is. Okay. Then you're one step closer to being where you should be. And I think that, in these days, it's interesting. Here we are, the holidays, supposed to be full of joy, and you're supposed to be merry and happy, and then the family comes, and oh yeah, here comes Uncle Jerry. I remember Uncle Jerry. And then all of a sudden you sink down into the quicksand of memory, judgment, contempt, anger, hatred. It's hard to be good when you're 6 feet into the quicksand. Just give it up. Forgive Uncle Jerry. In other words, just don't judge him. Give it up to God. Say, hi, Uncle Jerry. How you been? And all of a sudden you're going to see there's a different Uncle Jerry, because you know what? Uncle Jerry really wants to be forgiven. And even if he doesn't, it's important for you to learn how to move on. Drop off the baggage at the door, the garbage, and move through your life without carrying all of that disgusting stench of judgment and hatred, and try and be like a child again. That's what I want to do. That's what I said. Actually, it was from a talk, and I've said it before, but what would you do to be closer to Christ? You got to drop off that baggage. And I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it's worth repeating. For those of us who get to see Jesus, we're going to see in a full-grown man the spirit of a tiny child that we've seen and recognized here on earth. Something called innocence that is so lacking in everyone, so lacking. But that's what we have to head back to, innocence. And maybe for his birthday, we could all try to be a little bit more like him. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah for those that believe like that. And Jesus loves me, this I know.